Animaniacs 2020, Episode 3. So, yeah, I mean, this is more standard fare. Um, although it was interesting to see that they only split this episode into two parts.
Yeah,
And
I think the one ran on a little too long.
yeah, the mouse one, I think they both ran on a little long. They both wore it a little, wore the premise a little thin. Which, I mean, other than like, I think I understand like why they chose not to call it. They called it the Greek Games instead of the Olympic Games. Um,
Yeah, because actually it's the Olympics are kind of dicks about that.
yeah,
Like somebody had actually somebody I know had done they were, one of my crafter buddies from one of the from Chicago TARDIS. They had done a knitting Olympics or something like that. It had the word Olympic in it or a parody of the word Olympic. And it was like sewing or knitting or something like that. And the Olympics actually sent them a cease and desist. It's like you can't use the word Olympics.
yeah. It would have been funny if the people are wondering why are you calling it the Greek Games, and then you just have like uh a funny kind of running gag would be them avoiding saying the word Olympic. But like
That would have been funny.
Wacko keeps trying to say the word Olympic, but every time he does,
It's like,
Yakko is
oh,
having to
no,
stop
no,
him.
no.
Admittedly, when I first heard like the term Greek games, I was thinking, oh, so like are all the Olympian gods gonna like compete with each other?
Yeah, that was something I thought of, but that and I mean the way that one dude was drawn kind of made me think Storkules.
Yeah,
There is a little bit of Storkules in there, but yeah, not completely. Other than being small brain, big brawn.
Yeah,
He's not
but I
nearly as friendly.
think about the Storkules when I first saw it. So I'm like, oh, it's gonna be some sort of Greeks type, the Greek gods. And then it's like, no, no, it's just Olympic parody.
Yeah, and that would I think that would have been the whole sort of premise holding this entire thing together. They're trying to get the medals to get the chocolate inside. That works. That works.
Yeah,
There are some jokes that some jokes that work and some jokes that are like like the reading the title in the thing, like the gold medalers. It's like okay, yes, but you calling attention to it is still making the joke. You're hanging a
yeah,
lampshade on it. You're saying, haha, look at us, we know what we're doing. It's a meta joke, but you're basically still telling the same joke.
yeah.
But you're just saying,
it's like,
and we're aware this is a bad joke, we're going to tell it anyway. um, and
like,
then,
and oh yes, he can't swim.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
um, and
I,
then there
I, I
was,
love, and I just spoke with Yako's sister. I just spoke with Yako's brother.
yeah, some work, some don't. So we had the urban decay, like that's a really dark joke, but very accurate. It's one
Yeah,
of those jokes that's going to fly right over kids' head. What's urban decay? But anybody who knows what happens to a city after they have the Olympics,
yeah,
it's usually detrimental in the long run to them. It
yeah,
raises their profile for a little bit, but it's usually because they usually throw so much money at at new stadiums and that sort of thing. If they don't already have the stadiums in place, like it really, they throw all this money at it and then it just doesn't get used. Whereas someplace that already has the stadiums and they're already being used for something, well, it's just repurposing them, so it's not as big a deal. But yeah, if you're building whole Olympic complexes just for the Olympics, and then afterwards they have no purpose, they don't have any ongoing purpose. Go ahead.
Plus, just like that episode of Doctor Who, Fear Her, where they put all that effort to keep the street that the runner was going down bump free and all nice and neat. And so throwing all that money into that is just a complete waste of money.
Yeah. And there was also the high jump, now legal in 12 states.
That they turned into the info bar.
That was another one of those. This is going to go over the kids' heads, but the adult audience will understand what the joke is about.
Yeah.
Which is very Animaniacs. It's like, this is a
Definitely.
joke that would have the censors going, wait a minute. But
volleyball for tall people that are bad at jumping.
Or was it jumping or shooting?
Or like basketball or something.
Yeah,
no,
it was basketball. It was basically dribbling was what they said. Yeah, it was dribbling.
Dribbling.
Yeah, because you still do all the tossing and shooting and slapping with the hands, but there's no dribbling in volleyball unless you're just doing that to sort of prep for doing it. I don't know if a volleyball would bounce that much. But yeah, I mean, there's some good one-liners in there where it's just like the high jump, describing it, and it works. This is mathematically impossible, and he still wins somehow. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, but he's bad at math.
Yeah.
Yes. He's also bad at math. But yeah, I mean, it's very much.
Or the throwing the ball and then throwing the discus and then Wacko goes chasing it like a dog and just like. So are they actually dogs then? I mean, they do have that kind of goofy look to them.
They're the Warner Brothers and their sister Dot.
Yeah,
that's what they are. You
what kind of
monkey
animals
dog
are you?
children.
I am kind of disappointed they don't have Scratch and Sniff anymore.
I thought they did keep Scratch and Sniff. They just didn't have Hello Nurse.
I know he's not in the intro. I don't remember him in any of the episodes. I know they have Ralph still. The guard.
Yeah.
But
anyway, it seems. But there's the only thing on this one is it seems to me like, and this is just it's a minor flavor issue, not really an issue. It's a flavor choice that they would have. Well, a couple of things. This is supposed to be pretty much set in modern era, so got that. And I suspect that if this had been released on time, if we hadn't had everything that happened in 2020, that the Animaniacs probably would have been released sooner, and it probably would have coincided around the time of the Tokyo Olympics. And that's where
this year?
Yeah, it's 2021. They're going to if everything's okay, if there's not, then they're going to have it, and they're going to have it in Tokyo. What they were supposed to have last year, we're going to have it this year. They just moved it a year, assuming everything is okay. they'll have the Olympics this year.
It's like, ah, yes, he is now doing the moonwalk, a very outdated thing. But remember, this does take place in the 90s.
Yeah, this is a reboot from the '90s, so it's not that
Yeah.
out of it. But yeah, just the flavor I was going to say was that it seems to me like the old Animaniacs. Now, I think they went with the modern Olympics, modern Greek games, in order to hit the the Tokyo Olympics and kind of hit that about the same time. But it seems to me like if this had come out in like in the '90s version, they would have just gone to the ancient Greek games
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
done it that way. And they might have thrown in a few like interesting facts about Greece at the time, ancient Greece at the time. But they would have cleaned it up with some togas and whatnot.
Probably, like you said, it probably was made to coincide with the
Yeah.
with the Olympic Games, because they have been known to do that from time to time with coinciding with the they have been known to like have something to coincide with an event or something, even in the classic one. So that's not that.
Yeah. It was purely a flavor choice. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a failure. It was just a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they call the high dive? Falling with style or something?
Yeah. Something like that.
And another thing was representing Burbank. It would have been funnier if they'd pulled out a reference and gone Advalania.
Yeah.
That would have been a little deep cut for the kids. Like they made up a country all for a joke. It's like no, they didn't make it up, but they are using a cut of a joke that's
From the
that's gonna go way over your heads because you don't remember the original series.
Oh, they do have Scratch and Sniff in the new one. Not until episode 13. I haven't gotten to 13 yet.
But,
so he's in the very last episode of season 1. That's why.
Yeah, I think the controversy was over Hello Nurse. They were gonna keep Scratch and Sniff. There was no problem with Scratch and Sniff. It was Hello Nurse that we can't have her.
Well, no, they most of the classic characters are gone.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you're gonna have Scratch and Sniff,
it's not the controversy of it. It's not like he was a controversial character. It's that they got rid of most of them. Although that's actually what is an episode in future that mentions it, but yeah, most of the
well, if you're gonna have Scratch and Sniff, she's also there, but that's beside the point. And
who's ever offended by Hello Nurse needs to shove it.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, especially considering every time she was shown to be absolutely brilliant. Like, she was beautiful, but she was also shown to be absolutely freaking brilliant.
And honestly, I think that is better for, especially younger girls who, because a lot of the time in media, you see either they're pretty or they're smart. And so young girls especially, get that into their head that you can't be pretty and smart. So they either go the airhead or the smart route and go all Osgood style, all frumpy, and don't try to be pretty or don't actually accept that they're pretty or whatever because I'm smart, I can't be pretty. Whereas if you have characters like Dot, who is cute, but she's also the smartest one of the three. Who's
Well,
always,
It
oh
depends on
my
the
god.
situation sometimes, 'cause sometimes she can get a little
Well,
stumped, but that is, I'm splitting hairs.
but no, I mean she's witty and yes, she does have wit, but she's also cute, and that was her thing. She's cute and smart. And Hello Nurse is, you know, knockout, drop dead, gorgeous, Jessica Rabbit style, character who is also freaking brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to have characters like that sends a positive message to girls and young women, as opposed to the whole, oh, they have to be, they have to be nerdy, they have to be,
Or
not they, you can't embrace your pretty.
yeah, or
And
if you, you know, if you try and look beautiful, then you're just a traitor who's only looking to attract men. Like, you're
yeah,
subservient to men because you're making yourself look pretty for them. It's like, well, but
Yeah.
well, and the thing is also, I pulled up Hello Nurse to Heloise Nurse is her actual name, but I was wondering what's her, like, because she's had uh let's see, maybe intrusive, mean IQ of 192, uh uh yeah,
exactly,
it's
brilliant.
but yeah, let's see, it would. But I was also thinking about, okay, well, you have to get the voice actress if you wanted to have her back. She's voiced by Dot, so that's
Yes,
yeah. So it's not like that would be hard to get her back.
of course she's good there.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
if they wanted to
like,
use her, they could.
a lot of these characters from the original are voiced by
The
the
same
main
people.
character,
Yeah,
the same people, voice like dozens of them.
yeah. Which,
So
if
it's
you've ever
not
been involved in any voice acting thing, is not really a shock. So we have 5 people. We can make them into 15 characters.
yeah, especially like Jess Hartnell and Rob Paulson, Tristan Neal, because they have so many voices to them. Like they literally can voice an entire show single-handedly.
Yeah. Now, we don't know
And
how much
Frank
of this is true, but like, I found the song they sing, and I don't know how much this is true because it's Warner singing their song about Hello Nurse, but it's she's 150, though 192, 157 IQ. She's very smart. She has several PhDs, speaks fluent Japanese. I'll just read the song. She's the one of the year, independent of career. There's not a thing that she couldn't do. Oh, she's alert, she's aware, she's got legs like a stare, and 157 IQ. She has several PhDs, speaks fluent Japanese, and her shoes always match with her purse. Whatever street she's walking down, everybody turns around and says, "Hello, nurse." She likes cheese and pepperoni, won a Pulitzer and a Tony. She played the leading role in King Lear, which, okay. She never drinks, she never smokes, she never laughs at dirty jokes. She was ambassador to China last year. Well, she's politically correct. She'd never collect. She plays Chopin, and she doesn't rehearse. And when she's walking by, I give a little sigh and say, "Hello, nurse." She gets her math equations right. She reads Tolstoy every night. She won the Nobel Prize in Physics, it's true. She drives a shiny new Corvette, sings opera at the Met, and volunteers her time at the zoo. She won a scholarship to Yale, got her Fulbright in the mail, and took a 2-year junior college degree. She's manna sent from heaven. Too bad I'm only 7, because hello, nurse, I wish you'd take care of me. She's not everything we've said. Then may lightning struck his head. Then they get struck by lightning, and then it's hello, nurse. But basically, they were praising her intelligence, and it's like,
yeah.
How's that offensive?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know, because the social justice warriors find it demeaning to praise somebody's appearance, because apparently you have to be frumpy or, and if you're pretty, then you're just objectifying women.
See,
Yeah, you're a
I was
traitor.
looking at where the phrase started from. It's like the phrase originated in vaudeville. It was originally going to be Buster Bunny's catchphrase along the lines of Bugs Bunny and "What's up, Doc?" But the writers could not find a way for him to use the phrase. Let's see, and it's like, what does "Hello Nurse" mean? Interjection, exclamation upon seeing an attractive person. Hello, nurse.
But anyway, I guess getting back to the
Oh yes,
the show
yes.
proper. I think
Somebody wrote a magical Pegasus.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
and I
and
think
I love that. The Pegasus is like, although technically it's an alicorn, it's not a
yeah,
Pegasus, because
yeah
even the original Pegasus
was
did not
just
have horns.
it
It was a
was
horse
just wings. Yeah,
that was an alicorn.
yeah.
One part that made me laugh was, yeah, you would know about taking credit for other people's stuff. It's your
Yeah,
state song.
yeah. I love the little bickering that goes on between them.
Yeah, it feels like overall like there's nothing bad about it. It's most of the jokes work. A couple of them a little clunky, but most of it works really well. Um, it just I think it might go on a little long.
Yeah, like I said, it was just a little excessive. Like it just was a
Yeah.
little too long for a Animaniacs short.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
if
then
they
I think most of these are a little on the long side for an Animaniacs short because they cut it down. Like the old ones had like 3 or 4 different things, whereas this it's always like Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Animaniacs, like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom for each one, and the end one is usually cut down to like like a minute or so, and the other 2 are stretched a little more.
Yeah, the last one is usually they spin that wheel thing or whatever.
No, I mean in the new one.
Oh, I know. I was talking about like the original one. I kind of
Yeah,
miss the spinning wheel.
I do too.
the wheel
I
of
kind of hope
morality.
Wheel of
Yeah.
Morality, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. And then it's always the most ridiculous thing.
Now we shall talk about a mouse in the office.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
That
was a
was,
little.
I mean, I know what it was going for, but I think it was a little too. I
Don't think
I
it
mean,
carried
they
off the
were
Red Scare
supposed
very well.
yeah, I know it was supposed to make fun of the Red Scare and stuff, but I don't think they did a good job with it. Because it just didn't feel, it felt a little too forced, especially with the "he's a mouse" thing.
Now, to be fair, let's put it this way. Explain this to somebody who has no idea what the Red Scare is. Me.
The Red Scare was back in the
50s.
I forget what,
I think
50s,
I
yeah.
think it's 50s because
It was communist Russia. Communism was kind of spreading out to America, and so they were seeing communists everywhere, and it's like it's a threat to the American ideal. So they actually went and ostracized people for believing in communism, or even it was basically a witch trial for communism.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually heard the name for that, but yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
it's
it
called
was
the
in the
Red
50s.
Scare because
I mean,
people are like, oh my god,
not liking communism is not thinking, putting communism fairly down the ethical ladder is sensible, but went over the top a bit with it. But yeah, they're
oh
they're
yeah,
they're
went
they're basically
way
down
over.
there with the other guys, the Germany guys. they're
Yeah, the thing is, it's okay not to, it's okay to believe that they're wrong. It's
yeah.
okay to dislike them, but they went so far as they blacklisted loads of actors for even
Yeah, it was
looking
they went too
communist.
far. Yeah, they went too far.
They
Now, yeah,
they there were people who were not communists but had friends who were communists or who said hello to a communist. Oh my god, you're a communist. You blacklist you. And people were actually arrested for it. For just the suspicion of it.
Damn.
but
And so it went so far overboard. And that's kind of what they were going for with this by mocking it with you're a mouse instead.
And here I thought it was just about politicians picking their nose.
yeah,
Well,
it's I mean, it's a and they're trying really hard to do that, but I don't know, it just doesn't hit really well because they're not. It doesn't. It's a fairly serious thing, and they can handle some serious things, but this just. I don't know how you would try to. I just don't think I would try to handle this in Animaniacs, or if I was going to handle it, it would be, you know, I don't know that I would have Pinky and the Brain handle it.
It should have been more like it should have been either in a song form like that, something more informational than just playing light on it.
Yeah,
Because they've had serious topics in the past.
Yeah.
well, and the thing is, like, he didn't. Okay, so Maidrock, what was the Red Scare? Okay, you're having a historical thing. He's trying to set it in a historical sort of idea, but you're not doing a good enough job for somebody who's watching this who doesn't know what the Red Scare was. They might get a general idea, but they're not going to get like a full idea of what kind of thing it was. It's just sort of.
I mean, to be fair, in my case, it was just like I knew the story, I just didn't know the name of the book.
Well, it wasn't a book. It was a thing that happened.
No, I'm doing a reference.
Okay.
I'm not saying a literal book.
Okay. And well, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it just I don't think it plays too. It plays too. There's a certain amount you can play with comedy. You can play fast and loose with some of the facts, in terms of making it comedy. But you have to get the core of it right. And I think the Warners would have handled this a little better. It would have been funnier with the Warners. But I don't think I would touch this. I would pick a different thing because it doesn't lend itself really well to comedy, I don't think.
Yeah.
That and like Nazi era are two of those things that you really don't want to.
Ooh, yeah.
It's just really hard to make good comedy that's also kid friendly with this sort of thing.
Yeah. It's very hard to do it justice while still making it fun.
You're making it funny and kid friendly. That's the big thing. It's got to be funny and kid friendly. Like, you could make a funny sketch about the Red Scare, but it would have to be, you'd have to level up, because what you're dealing with is higher level things, higher level concepts that kids just haven't been exposed to before, that they're not quite prepared for. Like, not saying kids are stupid, they're just not ready a lot of times for something of, the sort of existential sort of idea. They're not really, it's like, it's like trying to do, and, sometimes the subject matter is just not a great target for kids. Like, trying to do prohibition, like doing prohibition in the Animaniacs it wouldn't really work, because you have to reference alcohol all the time, and it's like, that doesn't work.
Well, I mean, they could be like,
I mean, they could do Al
switch out
Capone and that
alcohol
sort of
with
thing,
apple
but
juice or whatever.
If
I
they
suppose.
did prohibition with Animaniacs, not in the brain.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Planted alcohol with something like candy or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they would have to really do something kind of extreme to the story to make it work. But it's just, yeah, I don't think this is a good, like, if you want to do historical things, usually Animaniacs are a better conduit for that, because you can have an overly serious character that they're making fun of, or they're pestering, like Einstein. They went and pestered Einstein over trying to sell him cookies.
Yeah.
Not the cookies. Anything but the cookies.
But yeah.
No. I did not tell you you can use that.
Speaking of cookies, I bought one of those tin sewing kits, and there's a bunch of cookies inside it.
Oh, you're talking about the shortbread cookie tins.
Yes.
No, that's what they start with. And then you
Oh.
put it up with the sewing stuff.
Oh, I thought it just kind of appeared.
No. Then you go to the dollar store and pick up those cheap sewing kits and just fill that up.
Ugh.
But yeah, I mean, it's I would have picked something different, like, because this, they got too far away from what the actual thing is to get any value out of talking about the Red Scare. Because a kid watching this is not, they might get a vague concept, but they're not going to understand what the Red Scare was and its full, idea. They're just, it's there's a balancing act. If you get too far away from it, it doesn't work, because you're not actually providing any value with it, and the concept, you're not using the concept well enough. And if you get too close to it, it gets a little too adult and a little too complex for the kids to take.
Yeah.
So it's one of those systems that's just not. It's just
definitely not Pinky and the Brain style. Pinky and the Brain, as far as historical stuff, they're better for the historical fiction, like Around the World in 80 Days type thing, or War of the Worlds. Those sorts of historical fiction. The historical fiction stuff. Whereas history and politics and that sort of thing is better handled with Animaniacs, because they could use a more versatile outlet.
Well,
because Animaniacs, the cast within Animaniacs is bigger originally, although generally now they can add more characters to it's a bigger world, whereas Pinky and the Brain is more secluded, and I mean they're smaller, but
I think what the deal is between using the Warners and using Pinky and the Brain is how the comedy is structured. Generally, in Pinky and the Brain, the comedy is internal to Pinky and the Brain. Yeah, they're reacting to the world. in the
Yeah.
they're passive to what's going on, and so they can't extract sort of ideas and what this person would say and that sort of thing. They can't do that because their comedy is very internal, whereas the Animaniacs, the Warners, are more external. We're going to bother Einstein until he buys our cookies. We're going to go bother Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel. We're going to go bother him.
Hey, demons.
Yeah. And we're gonna bother him, or we're gonna go mess with this, or they're gonna make a it just they're more interactive. Like they can do a lot more because Pinky and the Brain is also focused on he's trying to take over the world. So that's the plot line. That's the through line of everything. The comedy's more internal, and the plot line is always the same. So you don't have as much flexibility with Pinky and the Brain.
The Pinky and the Brain world is smaller. Like everything is more self-contained and more linear.
Yeah.
Whereas Animaniacs is just scatterbrain out there.
It can be anything.
You can do almost anything.
Yeah, because Pinky and the Brain is always Brain has idea. Brain tries to implement an idea. Idea almost works, but then it fails miserably because of either Pinky or Brain, and then they run away and prepare for another night.
Exactly.
That's how they
that's the template.
That's the template, and that's pretty much the template always. There was that one episode where Pinky came up with a way to take over the world and nearly succeeded, but didn't. Was even closer.
He conceded.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, he chose not to.
He could, and then he conceded because he's like, I don't really want this.
Yeah.
Come on.
So
one is a genius and one's insane. It never says which one is which.
Actually, in the new one, they do kind of specify.
Well, it's more what they're showing on screen. But yeah, in the original, they don't really specify who's the genius and who's insane.
So I have a question, and it's been bothering me. So, are Pinky and the Brain immortal?
Yes.
Yeah, they exist out of time.
They are transtemporal lab mice.
Yes. I think their cage has a vortex manipulator that's set on random.
Yeah.
Their cage just has one of those, and just every so often, it goes off, and they go someplace.
The Acme Labs is a TARDIS.
That would make sense.
Small on the outside, and yet inside it's so big.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I think you just they get randomly transported through time occasionally. Most of the time they're set in the modern day, but occasionally that time machine goes off and they go someplace else and somewhere else.
You know what Jack said the other day? Because he was watching Ghostbusters. He said the ghost trap is like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside and smaller on the outside.
Technically, I suppose, yes. I mean, it can contain something bigger than itself.
Yeah. Although I think with the ghost traps case, it actually is more of a case of matter compression.
Yeah.
Rather than dimensional transcendentalism, because most ghosts are, pretty molecularly spaced, almost gaseous. So the ghost trap compresses that into a smaller form, into a tighter thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a 6-year-old to make that comment is kind of clever.
Well, I guess the last part is how many apples do I have?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you ever wondered how would this
The
have come
math
up?
teacher. The math, although it would have been better in English because it wouldn't have been masterpiece, it would have been masterpiece, which just flows better.
That's
Masterpiece.
true.
Because
Ugh.
English it's maths, not math.
You know, I gotta admit,
Mathematics.
when I was like 6 or whatever, and I was in school, and if I was taught math like that, I would not have minded.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm going 40 miles per hour, and I left the station at this.
Yeah.
At 12:05, God help us.
All it reminds me of is also the episode where the Warners get an actual teacher, and you know, if you have 5 cookies and somebody takes away 3 of your cookies, how many cookies do you have? Or what do they? How many do they? Or yeah, or something like that. And Dot goes, "They have a broken hand." I have to look it up. They will if they try and take my cookies.
I mean, I would have said, well, they have 0 cookies, and now I have a dead body on my hands.
No, I think they just said like broken hand or something.
Oh no, that's what I would have said.
Yeah,
That'd be my answer.
and one of them, I think it's like you have 10 candy bars and you eat 8 of them. What do you have? A stomach ache.
Diabetes.
No, I think he said a stomach ache.
I know.
Yeah,
But yeah.
If you have 10 cookies and someone takes away half of them, what will they have? A broken hand. that was the quote. I found a quick picture of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, it just reminds me. How many will they have? What will they have? They will have a broken hand. But yeah, that's all that springs to mind. Is that it's just short and it was interesting. It did get them up to 3 segments, but you know, it's an interesting bumper thing.
Yeah.
Like a music or a good idea, bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting little buffer piece to pad out an episode because despite how much they dragged it out the first 2, they were probably in that weird space where they had the 2 pieces, they stretched them too far, so there wasn't enough time to fit a real 3rd segment, but they couldn't stretch them anymore without it getting ridiculous. So they're like, okay, we'll come up with a small segment and throw it in there. And that's where Masterpiece Theater was probably born. It was just, we need something to fill the space.
Yes. And we've been singing too much, so let's do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd take this over that suffragette thing that didn't make any sense. At least this made sense, and it was mildly entertaining.
Why do
the suffragettes have lasers? Then you talk about nothing else. You stop talking about it after that.
Anything else on review?
No.
Well, if we're done, I'm gonna go ahead and so we don't wander about too much more. I mean, at least we went all over the place, but was all linked in with Animaniacs anyway, so we kind of wandered a lot with this review, but we were on topic the entire time, so that was good.
Yeah, it helps pad out the time though.
Yeah.